I find it fascinating that the left is the side throwing No Kings protests, when any situation you look at in recent history will point to the DNC behaving like the monarchy. Like when they sued to keep RFK Jr. off of the ballot in several states, lifelong Democrat. When the DNC colluded to keep Bernie off of the ballots. Or how Kamala Harris wasn't voted on in the primaries, a process in which the US has been using for over 50 years. Or the Obama administration refusing to release records, and I mean a record-breaking amount of money on legal costs, defending its refusal to turn over federal records. For a second consecutive year, the administration set a record for times federal employees told citizens, journalists, and others that despite searching, they couldn't find a single page of files that were requested. How about how the Obama campaign was fined the most amount of money any campaign has ever been fined for, what do you know, falsifying business records? Is he a felon too? One felony count for each time he filed them falsely? I didn't think so. Or how about how the Biden censorship affected all speech? They didn't just go after misinformation, they went after memes, satire accounts, and doctors' pages. And of course, political opponents. While we remove content that explicitly directs people not to get the vaccine, you can't do that, that's free speech, but let's keep reading. As well as content that contains explicit misrepresentations about vaccine, that's not up to you. This is just Facebook. What would Facebook bros know better about a vaccine than a doctor? Who knows? But of course the administration got away with this scot-free, even though there's over 1,000 emails that look similar to this, including one of Mark Zuckerberg himself saying, when we are pressured to censor on either side of the political spectrum, it always comes back to bite us. How about how the DNC allowed and invited almost every other mayor of big major blue cities to speak, except for Eric Adams? And it's probably because it came after he criticized the White House over the migrant crisis. How about how Biden pardoned people that were never even close to being accused of a crime? Siblings, sibling spouses, only a select few of the January 6th committee officers. Like not all of them, only some of them. So if it was really about political weaponization, why not all of them? Dr. Fauci, retired General Mark Milley. How about how she didn't even win the election and in just her campaign, fire erupted? Because aside going into debt, she never paid her donors back. She owes them millions of dollars. And she's also getting away with that scot-free, something that I'm sure if Trump was doing, you guys would be out protesting about it. So much so that she started emailing and texting American citizens to pay her for her debts. So I wasn't voted on by the people like I should be in a democratic fashion, and then I lost, but now I'm still gonna ask you for your money to get me out of my debt. Your money, my debt. After you didn't even vote on me to run in the first place. And that doesn't give monarchy to you guys, really? How about how the federal election regulators fined Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign and the DNC for not properly disclosing the money they spent on controversial opposition research that led to the infamous Trump-Russia scandal? And maybe the fact that she had a signed agreement with the DNC before she even ran. Many statements from people on the inside said things along the lines of, the DNC should apologize to millions of people who put their heart and souls into the campaign on both sides. There were people who campaigned for Hillary believing it was a fair process. It was not a fair process. And those people are the people who the Democratic Party has to reestablish faith with, the people. How about how Obama colluded and meddled in Ukraine's elections? How about how the Democratic Party went in an uproar about our country being added to Global Human Rights Watch list, when all you have to do is a little bit of research? The nonprofit that added the US to the Global Human Rights Watch list is funded by 6 people, 6 groups. 4 out of those 6 groups are funded by George Soros, or he created them himself. And the other 2 are left-leaning organizations. That is how they brand themselves. And instead of being transparent about that the most rich left-leaning mega donors on the planet were behind that list, your DNC leaders ate it up and spread it anyway. Or how about the fact that at the end of the day, you guys are wanting to get rid of the oligarchy, yet Kamala Harris had double to triple the amount of funding by millionaires and billionaires than Trump did either of his campaigns. Trump has one very strong Elon Musk, and you guys lose your minds, ignoring Kamala's 100 millionaires to billionaires that she was backed by. A king doesn't win an election fairly. He doesn't do everything he promised to do in his campaign that the people voted for. And a king usually isn't stopped by every single federal court and activist judge in the process that the people didn't elect. Judges and courts that the people don't vote on. That's not giving king. You can be upset about deportations and due process all you want, but the reality is you guys have had and always will have way bigger issues to worry about than deportations and due process. And 9 out of 10 of them, yes, are coming from your party. The information's there. You just don't look for it because you don't want to. And that, in and of itself, is monarchy behavior. When you refuse to dig deeper into your party, when you refuse to challenge your own side, and when you refuse to have fair thought processes for both. The blind loyalty is literally proving the point of your protests being hypocritical and worthless. And that's why, at the end of your protests, you guys went home real stinking proud of yourselves. Nothing changed. Because nothing is going to change. Go back to work.